Let's now create a map that incorporates an official national park map with other GIS elements. What I mean by that, the official national park map are the ones that you get when you enter the national park, the little folded brochure type map. So first off, we got to find, for my favorite national park, Sequoia, we got to find the map for that. So we'll go back to the internet again. Let's search for Sequoia National Park. Let's go to the official national park website. All right, go to maps. Select the national park is closed right now. That's unfortunate. All right, so here's the park map. Looks like we can download this. So I'm going to open up with preview. That saves it as a PDF, so I'm going to save that into my Sequoia National Park folder. Export as PDF. Okay. So the cool thing about QGIS is that, so that PDF map I brought up, so let me try to place that in here. It has no georeferencing, so the PDF is a raster rather than a vector file, because these polygons are have discrete units of information, so they're vectors. So the map would just be an image or a raster. So let's see if we can load it and see what happens. So go to layer, add raster layer. We'll navigate to the image, which is this map here. Open, hit add. And let's see, it's giving us a message, invalid type, and it didn't place it on there. So what it's saying, it doesn't have any georeferencing information to be able to place it anywhere on our map. So we can take care of this, so we can use a georeferencing tool. So to load that up onto your QGIS, go to plugins. And so a cool thing about QGIS is you can install all kinds of other features to QGIS as you need it. So to do that, go to plugins, manage install plugins. And there's all these other cool things. And one that I use often is DEM to 3D. So this takes your digital elevation model and makes a 3D printable portion of the landscape. And I've used that before in 3D printing. That's pretty neat. Last tools is for looking at LiDAR data within QGIS. Okay, but anyway, so we're looking for the georeferencer. Georeference. Looks like go to all. Looks like maybe the georeferencer is now standard part of the data. Okay. Well, so if georeferencer is already on here, then it'll be under raster. If it's not, then search under plugins and see if you need to install it. Okay. But anyway, this is a really good source to add additional features to QGIS to get it to do what you want. So if there's something you need, you can probably find it under plugins. Okay, so we'll close that there. So we want to put the national park map, lay it on top of our boundary map. So then we can use other GIS elements and have everything georeferenced together. Okay, so to do that, go to raster, georeferencer, and then click on to add. That little checker box means raster. We'll go to our place where we got it saved. So open it. Okay, so PDF is not a supported raster. Well, let me convert it into a JPEG. I'm just going to bring it up here. So I'm just going to screenshot this sucker. Okay. Okay, so now we have an image file rather than a PDF. So that should work now. So it did. Go back to our file. Okay. Okay, so now it's recognizing it. So the goal in georeferencing, we want to find at least 3 or 4 places on the image that we can also find within QGIS to be able to line it up. So we got the park boundary so we can find similar spots. So our first data point, so add point, and then click on the image where you want to add the first point. So I'm finding a distinctive on the curve here. So, and then you want to, we don't know the coordinates, but we can grab them from the map canvas. And so then we go to the same spot on our map in QGIS and click here. That'll bring up the coordinates. Hit OK. It puts a little dot there. This little square here is distinctive. So we can click on here and go from map canvas to find the same spot here. Hit OK. We've got 2 spots. You want to find spots from greater distances from each other. It'll work better in the georeferencing. So let's get this corner here. Map canvas again. Looks good. Let's find one more, maybe this point right here. So let's click on that for map canvas. Hit OK. So that looks good. So we got 4 points. Okay. So now you can pick the transformation settings. Probably best to start out with linear target SRS. This is the coordinate reference system. Let's see what our default project is on right now. So it says SPG 3857. So let's pick that. 3857. Hit save GCP points. Hit OK. And then you hit the play button to run it. Okay. So normally it adds it automatically, but let's cancel here and then go to layer, add raster layer. Let's go back to our image that we put into the, and here's the GCP, the ground control points, so it saved those right here with that file. And here's our TIFF that was created. So open and add. So then it adds it to our map here. So it should be pretty close. Let's hit the, change this to black now to see what it looks like. Yeah, so it looks good. This looks like we nailed the alignment. Now, I'm not sure this will work, but let's see if we can crop this raster to this boundary. So, To do that, you go up to raster, extraction, clip raster by mask layer. So the input layer will be our image. The mask layer will be the Sequoia National Park boundary. The source will make it still that same coordinate reference system. We'll use the same. Let's hit run, see what happens. Okay. So then it says it's clip mask. Let's get rid of our image. So now we got the national park, official national park map within our data. So it looks pretty good. Looks like we could have scanned, saved this at a higher res, but looks pretty good. So for our task number 2, create a map that incorporates an official national park map with other GIS elements. We got the national park map, so that works. So if we wanted to add some other elements, let's say my favorite place in Sequoia National Park is the giant, or the General Sherman tree. So I want to highlight this aspect on the map. So I can create new shapefiles also within QGIS. So to do that, I can go to Layer, Create Layer, and create new shapefile layer. And then I'll pick where I'm going to save it at, hitting these 3 dots here. And we'll call it Favorite Places in Park. Save. And here's where you put the geometry type. So I'm going to make it a point rather than a line or a polygon. So I'm going to make it a point, hit OK. And now I have a new shapefile. It has no data yet, so let me right click on that. If I open the attribute table, there's nothing. But to add data, I can hit this little pencil icon, which is the toggle editing. I can now begin to edit this shapefile. And here's the add pointer feature. And I can click on here, the General Sherman tree. And now it's asked me for the ID number. I can just call it 1. And so now I have my first shape here. If I hit save and hit the pencil again, I'm no longer editing. It should have saved my point, which is right here. But you can't really see the point very well on the map, so I'm going to change its symbology. Let's make it blue, and let's make it bigger. So we should be able to see the dot a lot better. Yeah, pretty good. Let's make it just a little bit bigger, double the size. Okay, so it looks pretty good to highlight that. Now let's say, let's get rid of this. Let's say we wanted just to show the General Sherman tree on top of our Bing's map web service aerial stuff. We can also create labels. So let's go into our file again. Open attribute table. There's only one data column, the ID number, but we can add other data columns. So hit the pencil tool, edit, and you can come here and you can create a new field. We'll call it name, and you can, instead of a number, we can make it a text field. And you can have the length of the text field, and I normally pick like some random number like 42. But if you had some specific in mind, you could designate that. And now to add that data, I could put the General Sherman tree, and hit tab, hit save, and now it has saved our data associated with this point. And we could add any number of fields and other data types with our georeference point. So hit exit. So there's no label here yet. So to make our label, we'll again right click here and go to properties. and there's a labels column over here, so hit labels. We want to do, there's all kinds of different label roles you can use, but we're going to normally use, well, I normally use single labels. The value you want to select is or you pick the column you want to use, get the labels from, so we created the name one. And oftentimes I'll use draw text buffering so you can see the label a little bit better. You can design the different fonts, different colors, and all kinds of things you can use to use in labeling the text. So hit apply. Let's see if that popped up. So now we have our label here. We can get rid of the background, and let's go ahead and make our text bigger on the label. So go to text, and text size is 12. Let's make it 24. So now we can see that a lot better. So here's the location of the general Sherman tree within the Sequoia National Park map. And if we wanted to add back our official national park map, we could put it there and we could see specifically what we're looking for right there. So in the third part of the workshop was to create a map, show your favorite hiking trail or place. So your favorite place could be something like the General Sherman tree. But you can see the point of georeferencing information like this national park map is that you can pull from different data sources if you can georeference it and create new GIS elements. So say we wanted to like put our favorite hiking trail here on this map and illustrate it, because here there's all kinds of hiking trails. You can't just focus on one. So you could create a new shapefile and follow along one of the hiking trails and make a new file with that, just like we did our favorite places in the park, and you would have a new map. So another way to show background information is to show it just by the digital elevation model. So this is all pretty busy. If we wanted to show, like, really illustrate the degree of difficulty of hiking, you might want to do it to see how much up and down it is going up the mountains and going down valleys to see if it's going to be a difficult hike or not. So to do this, you generally want to use a digital elevation model. So an easy way to find that is you can use a plugin. So if you go to plugins, and to get an easy to use digital elevation model, we can use the SRTM data, which is NASA derived data that's elevation models of the entire world. And they're not super high res, but for this scale they probably work. So if you go to SRTM downloader and install plugin, then you'll have this plugin here, and you come down here, SRTM downloader, and if you click set canvas extent, now you can download all the DEMs associated with your map view that you have currently open. And so these will download all those. Because I have a slow connection here, it's not really working, so let me cancel all that. Let me zoom in a little bit closer. Okay, so let's try that again. Set canvas extent. Download. So now I only need to download 2 images. See if this worked. You do have to have an account. I think register with like the NASA imaging, but it's a free account you can get. You just click on there to get your free account. Okay. Okay, it's downloading the second one. It looks like it also downloaded some of the ones we were trying to get previously. Okay. Let's zoom out here. Okay, cool. So it looks like we'll put our national park on top of this so we can see our boundary. See if we got everything in. Okay, so it looks like we have all the data here. You can see how it has this tiled appearance. To get rid of that, you can go here to raster, miscellaneous, and merge. And we can merge these raster layers together. So if you hit this 3 dots here, we can click all our raster files we just downloaded and hit run, and it'll create a new raster layer of all these combined together. That's already finished. So it should be called merge. It put it on the bottom, so let's get rid of these unmerged raster files. Okay, so that's what that looks like now. So to visualize what this looks like, you then can go to raster. No, not raster. Let's right click on our merge and go to symbology. And the easiest way is to do is a hill shade, hit apply, and this gives us an idea of the overall terrain, what it looks like. And you can also use different colors to illustrate it. You can increase the ruggedness of the terrain. How much the Z factor determines how high the peaks are. Let's put it at 0.5 and see if that does anything. It's not really doing anything. You can also see what the contours looks like. Oh, that's pretty neat. So you can generate contours or visualize it right within the symbology. Let's get rid of our national park. Our national park map. That looks pretty good. Let's see what else. So black, we could see if we can colorize it by white, maybe. Let's see what red looks like. No, not really. That looks pretty good close up. Not really changing colors how I want it to though. Okay, let's go back to hill shade. I'll show you a quick trick of how to further use the layering to visualize things. So we have the hill shade here. Okay, so let's duplicate this raster layer. So right click, export, save as. We'll call this one, we're going to save it in the same folder. We'll just call it DEN2. So this will be a duplication of that file. Okay. So you can manipulate the transparency. So if we have this one now, let's colorize it besides black and white. You can do different ramps. So Okay, so here's a red version, and let's see, that one looks good sometimes. Okay, now let's manipulate the transparency so we can see the layers underneath it, and then you can visualize the data with using the same layer duplicated and get a different look for your map. So that looks, I don't like the hill shade on this. It looks it's too exaggerated, at least the default merge one. So if I was spending more time on it, I'd probably get a finer resolution to EM, but this will work for this example. And there's different blending, different ways to manipulate how it blends with the other layers, so we can get, like, darken's what I often use, and I'll give it a different look. And to show our boundary better, make it maybe thicker. Let's see what it looks like with our national park on top. Then I can't see it, so I clicked on it and I can't see the national park map. So it's because it's below the other layers, so let's move it on top. Now we can see it, and let's move this one on top of here. So it looks pretty good like that. Let's see what happens if we adjust the transparency with the national parks map. That's giving it some more context to our map with the surrounding terrain. So it looks pretty good. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good map. Yeah, so when you're working through this, just keep practicing. But there's basically whatever you can think of in terms of a map, you can make it. And what I think is really neat is that just from searching the internet and gathering the data, you can do all this work. And also QGIS is open source, so it's free to download, and you can do whatever you want with it. One last thing I want to see is, let's see what this looks like in 3D. So if you go to view, this is a relatively new feature of QGIS, new 3D map view. And hit this little wrench icon. So the type, we don't want flat terrain, but we can use our raster layer that we downloaded, and we'll use the merged one. Hit OK. I think you gotta hit these little, there we go, these little arrow icons. It's not the best 3D view, but it can give some depth to your data. Yeah, so that's not bad. So you can also look at it that way, and you of course could take a screenshot of this or save it as an image right here. Okay, well, I think that's a good introduction to QGIS. If you can complete all these steps, you're well on your way to having a basic understanding of GIS.